Hi, welcome to Artcasters. This is the show where we talk about the ins and the outs and the ups and downs of illustration, cartooning, graphic design, just being a professional creative. And as usual, we're now on my channel. You might have missed me last week because I was out with strep throat, and so Corey, who's going to be our guest today, kindly subbed in, and that was a good episode with Vincent. I've just barely started it, and I feel bummed that Vincent's such a good guy.
Vincent's awesome.
He's one of the best conversationalists too.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah, so I'm excited to watch the rest of it, but I'm also jealous that you guys got to hang with Vincent because I like Vincent. Anyhow, so that being said, we're going to start this off by just as usual saying everybody's links and stuff like that, and then we're going to slam through an art check. For those of you who might maybe follow Artcasters and not follow 48-hour art check, it's basically a weekly check-in. Actually, 3 times a week. We've brought it down to 2 public times a week, although we constantly check in with each other throughout the week anyway. But every 48 hours, you basically do a check-in with kind of an accountability buddy, which Corey's a big fan of that word.
I love made-up words.
Yeah, it's a great word. But anyhow, so you kind of keep each other accountable to move forward on your creative projects by asking status of what you've gotten done in the last 48 hours. Then you get into the challenges of what's come up and stuff like that. And what got in your way of reaching your goals. And then the third thing that you hit is basically what your plans are to accomplish by the next art check. And so it's a really good way keep yourself and other artists accountable. And what's cool is by doing it, you end up seeing more progress in your own art and stuff, and also being held accountable, which holds your feet to the fire to have something to show by the next art check. So that all out of the way, you're on my channel, so you know where to find me. If you haven't yet, check out my work on joshuakemble.com, and you can read the graphic novel that I'm going to be working on while we're doing Artcasters about faith and mental illness that I handwrite, hand letter, hand ink, and hand to you someday in print. Hopefully that day's coming soon. But until that day, you can read it on quarterlystories.com, and I highly recommend you guys do. So that's my links out of the way. Scott, where can everybody find your work? And by the way, that is the best Yoda Star Wars Santa hat on the planet.
No, I'm saying it's Baby Yoda. Keep it current, but yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you can Werner Herzog. I don't know if you could recognize me.
What's that?
I was saying I just went as Werner Herzog.
Yeah, so you can find me at circworks.com or Circworks on YouTube.
I love it, and you guys should. But I'm sure if you guys follow my channel, you probably are following Scott. But okay, speaking of other people you might be following, if you're already following me, Corey Kerr, where can everybody find your work, your animations, your cool stuff?
You can find my animations on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, and you can find everything else on those places as well as CoreyKerr.com. So you see my name at the bottom of the screen, right there, and you just put a .com after that.
I like that. So that's Corey Kerr with 2 R's.com.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So
slipped into radio announcer there. That was
nice. I know. I kind of want to do that more often. Yeah, it's great to be here with you guys. Welcome, Corey. Welcome, Scott. So let's do our art check. What have you guys gotten accomplished since the last art check? So we'll start with you, Corey.
Are we doing a speed version?
We can do a whatever version.
Okay. Basically, let me share my screen here. Where are we? Where's my screen share? Down here. And we'll go to screen. Okay, so I've got I was totally prepared for this. And that's why everything looks great right now. Consummate professional. Where's the finished thing? There we go. So I did this. I kind of got this edited and kind of a bunch of little dealios there. And then I've been working on, if I can go back here. I've been working on the next one that I'm going to do, which is this guy. And let me get rid of the red. And zoom. Oh, wow, it's kind of light, but anyway, and turn on. So there's my.
Oh.
So you're gonna have like a two bikers playing chicken, and so I'm gonna have like an old Harley biker and then a kind of like a crotch rocket biker. But the thing that I'm gonna do that is gonna be fun is I'm gonna have it like looping. But I'm going to try to make it so you can't tell that it's looping. So it'll be like they never actually meet each other. So it's going to be like, I'm going to do like close-ups of them like revving their engines and close-ups on their eyes, and then a shot of them like riding towards each other. And then it'll just loop through all of those kind of classic like jousting chicken.
Yeah.
Car
tension.
Yeah. And it'll just be nothing but tension and no payoff. That's kind of my goal.
I really like that. I might be a strange person. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen like the Too Many Cooks bit, but that kind of humor of just eternal loops till it gets a second wind and second humor. Like, I love that. All right, cool. So that's quite a lot. Scott, what all did you accomplish in the last 48 hours?
So yeah, I filmed some B-roll footage for my for an episode of it's actually the 4th episode of the Making Comics 101, which is going to premiere early next year. So I got that all finished in the can, so that video's done. I've been doing a lot of obviously like stuff like Christmas shopping and just gifts and food and stuff because I'm doing a holiday party, gearing up for all that stuff. Following up on a partnership that I'm hoping that will come to fruition for a digital product that I'm working on. I'm working on finishing up a font pack that hopefully I will launch soon. I just edited a video that I'm going to put up on Patreon, which is me flipping through an old superhero, like kind of like a toy catalog. I've done a few of those. This will be the 4th one. It's a kind of a Christmas version, so that'll go up on my Patreon hopefully tomorrow. And I watched the latest Mandalorian.
I haven't yet.
I will not spoil anything other than it was awesome. So yeah.
It was awesome. There's one thing that kind of broke my suspension of disbelief, which you probably know. It's like a weird casting choice where it was like, I liked it. It just was hard to.
I didn't notice any weird casting choices.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to do a little spoiler alert at the end and talk about it.
Okay.
I don't know. Should I just do a spoiler alert and just mention it?
I'm just going to take my headphones off while you do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spoiler alert. It'll take about 2 minutes. Well, maybe a minute, and then we'll be back on. Okay. Right. Bill Burr.
Oh no, I watched that was last week. They released the new episode 2 days early because they want to, because there's a little promotion for the movie. So
dude, okay.
So yeah, that was you're a week behind.
Corey, I didn't realize that I am old and did not realize that they had released a newer one this week early.
Yep.
Because I'm expecting it to be later in the week. And so it probably wasn't much of a spoiler for you.
Oh, what was it?
Did you see the last week's episode?
Yeah.
It was just weird to see Bill Burr playing like a.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was just the whole time. He did great. And just the whole time I was like, but that's Bill Burr.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of there have been a lot of these comedian cameos, you know.
Oh no,
Yeah.
totally true. But I don't know why, but particularly with Bill Burr, it was just kind of a weird one.
Well, he's publicly come out and say how stupid Star Wars is, and he doesn't care about it. So before, so it's kind of weird that I think they kind of cast him as you know, as it's sort of a joke. But
yeah, it was good though. So I will have to catch up now. Oh no, what a horrible thing! I have a wonderful episode to catch up on.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, and then let's see. Anything else?
Oh, me? Who is it? No, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Sweet. So it sounds like quite a lot of activity, and that's cool. I can't wait to see those videos go live. Those videos will be going live soon.
Which well, the one I was talking about is a Patreon exclusive. You're not a Patreon, Josh. So
I know.
Corey can see it. Corey's a patron.
I'm the worst with Patreon. I haven't joined any Patreons, and I need to. So I will have to do that. But no, I was talking about the
Corey can legally figure out a way to share it with you or something. I don't know how that works,
But I wouldn't do that.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I need to pony up. But yeah, like no, I was just talking about like the tutorial videos. I think those will be really good.
Oh yeah, that'll be early next year.
Yeah, so for me, I have I'm inking the latest page.
Nice.
And I'm not very far, but I did finish the tight pencils for it, and so just slowly but surely getting there. So yeah. So what challenges did you guys hit? Corey? What
Oh my gosh. More of the stuff I can't talk about at work. And then like that stuff has just been the worst. And I can get just generally talk about like when somebody cheats in a class, it is the most time consuming and emotionally draining thing that you can imagine, and it just sucks. And that's a lot of it. And then like today, I didn't get home from work, so I went in at 9:30 and I got home at 9:50 p.m. And so it's just been a series of very long things. So yeah, that's mainly it. Nothing real special one way or the other, but just super time consuming stuff.
Yeah, I can second that. I didn't experience that a lot, but when I taught, there were a few instances, and it is not fun. It is emotionally draining, as well as just time consuming. But yeah, that's intense. All right. Scott, what about you? What kind of challenges did you hit this week?
So I'm still having some issues with the lag in my videos, and I don't know what that's causing that. I don't know if it's the computer somehow, it like all of a sudden slowed down, or if it's the software. But I've got to put it on, like, in order to watch it back without it being, everything being totally off. I mean, the audio and the video being totally off and everything, and just everything running slow. I've got to run it at a super, super low resolution, which I can do, but I'm just not used to doing that. So it kind of sucks. And then every once in a while I get these kind of like a robot type, that kind of robotic voice when I'm watching stuff back. And so I was watching the video that I just produced, and I got some of that. I'm like, oh no, hope that's not in the thing. But then I rewound it and played it again, and I didn't hear it. So it's something else going on. It's not the actual video. So the video should be fine, but I don't know why it's doing that, because this computer should be fairly fast. So I don't know, but trying to figure that out. Other than that, the only other challenge is just, holidays approaching. So there's a lot of stuff, I got to take care of, and a lot of errands and things to run and stuff like that. So just that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like computer lags, and especially Like I've experienced that with both audio and visual. Like sometimes when recording music or recording a video, and when the syncing starts getting thrown off, even if it's not on the final thing, once it's exported, it can really throw off the editing process because you can't even tell. Like if you can't tell what you're editing being, if whether it's in sync, whether those errors are in the actual file or whether it's just a playback error, it's like that can be really frustrating and time consuming. So
yeah, because what I had to do with this Making Comics 101, because there's a lot of graphics and stuff in it, and it's all there's a lot of different layers and things like that, and things that fly in and all this kind of stuff. So I actually had to take because I tried to edit it all together in one file. And basically, I had to take all the video footage of me just talking and then the B-roll, dropping that in on a separate file without any of the graphics, then export that and then drop that into the other one. So there wasn't so much stuff in the file. So it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. But I actually have to do that sometimes when I'm doing a speed video, because I've always had the issues with speed videos in the software that I use, that if I as soon as I like speed up a video, and I try to play it, like if I'm doing a voiceover over a sped up video, there's like this weird lag. So I usually have to speed up the video separately, export it, and then drop that sped up video into the thing and then do the voiceover.
Yeah, and I think that one actually makes sense because I've had the same issue. That one makes sense because it's like you're actually adding so many frames that it has to process in such a short time. You're like overloading your computer.
Yeah, that one I've always had issue with. So that one doesn't bother me as much. It's this new stuff that kind of.
Scott, the next time that I'm in Phoenix, I'm just going to sit down and just teach you Premiere.
Well, I mean, I could probably learn it. It's just this software that I use is super user friendly. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But for what you're doing, you could pick up everything that you need to know in Premiere, and it's just kind of a rock solid program.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right.
Love it. All right. For me, my challenges were, we're staffing during Christmas at my work, and so that's crazy and challenging. It's always challenging to do hiring, and during the holidays, it's a extra challenge because everybody's off and out and gone, and so that gets complicated. And then just a lot of just like stresses that I can't talk about, like that are work related and things like that. So, just trying to kind of keep my mental game and kind of try to beat the odds of art direction. A couple of years back, I looked up the standard, endurance for an art director, like just as a career. And I guess the average art director quits after about 3 years. And I'm on 5. So I'm
you're winning.
I want to go long. I want to be like an old school art director. I don't want to be like the norm. But doing it, you realize there's a reason for that turnover because it's pretty high stakes and high stress. So there's that, and just trying to kind of balance that with family and then holiday obligations and stuff, and then trying to be productive and get in the groove after being sick is tough too. So those have all been kind of challenges,
Yeah.
So let's get into plans and all that fun stuff.
Plans. I have to get grading done, which is going to take me a long time, which isn't necessarily an art related plan, but that is a major thing that I have to do. And then I am going to see the new Star Wars and watch Mandalorian. And so that's all my entertainment stuff. And as far as art goes, I'm going to get, let's see, before I leave, I'm going to go spend Christmas in the Hopi reservation. which I will have no connectivity. So before I get out there, I want to make sure to get this done and possibly the other animation that I'm working on done. And so I'm hoping to get that done by Monday. So we'll see. It's kind of an ambitious thing, but I did knock out, way more than I thought after like spending forever in a slump. So I'm hoping that that's possible.
That's awesome. And I'm kind of glad to see you kind of out of that slump. I mean, I think you overcame it the last Artcheck, like before that, but still it's nice to see like the arch coming up again.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm out of it too. It was not fun.
It's never fun to feel like you're hitting a brick wall,
Oh yeah. And I was just hitting it like day in and day out forever.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. What about you, Scott? What are your plans?
So right now I'm working on this font package. So hopefully I can get further along on this. Let's see. So just working on digital products mostly, and I've got some that I already kind of in the works with, and then I want to kind of start kind of multitask, start working on kind of at least organizing another digital product that I have coming up, because that's a big part of what I'm hoping to do in 2020. So yeah.
cool.
I love it. And I think it's been cool. I'm sure we'll get into like recaps and stuff in the new year, but it has been cool in this year just kind of seeing the growth of the digital products thing for you and how it's kind of gradually upticked. Like you've started to figure out more of a system with like how to distribute, and that's cool. I mean, seems like that's all happened this year. And then similarly, like just building the packets, and they keep getting just kind of more and more dynamic. It's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm trying to scale back a little bit. It's weird because like not all the, it's you don't know what's going to happen when you launch one of these products, and they don't always do well. Like the last font one I did, it didn't really perform that well compared to, say, obviously the Comic Maker toolkit. So but that toolkit is just a massive thing. So I do want to focus on some smaller things, but I'm just have to try. The goal is, even if I've got one product that does pretty well, and but the more products I put out there, the more hopefully it'll bring in. So and the people that do really well with this, they've just got tons of products, and honestly I don't have that many, so we'll see. But yeah,
and I think even with some of those smaller ones, those might be kind of those incremental things where there's Corey will know the term for this, but in business there's that I don't know the official word for it, so I'm sure Corey will. But it's basically the idea of like you want to estimate the time cost and like the internal cost before you get into like profit. So it's like if you have something that's killer sales, but it took like 10 months to make.
Oh, right.
Versus like something that sold okay, but it took a week to make.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are certain points where it might be more profitable and wiser to actually do the week-long investment, because your return might actually be better subtracting the cost. But what would that be called, Corey?
I would call that like production costs, or it's part of the COGS, cost of goods sold.
Yeah,
and it's one of the factors in a landed cost, which would be how much it actually costs once it lands on the shelves to sell.
Yeah.
But
a good example of this would be like a graphic novel that takes 5 years. Even if this sells moderately okay, it's not going to balance out on the cost invested.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in that opportunity cost is the idea that you would be weighing that. You're like, my risk investment versus my time and money and resources. No, what do they call that? They call it is that a P&L, profit and loss analysis?
I don't know. That's the part that I'm blanking on.
I mean, there are very solid reasons why I decided to get a master's in illustration and not an MBA in business, because I don't like any of these terms or knowing them.
I love it. But I do think like the reason I was even asking Corey that, it's like I keep trying to kind of wax and learn business language, because it does help.
Oh yeah,
business language when you're dealing with businesses. But every once in a while, I have a moment where it slips that I'm just an artist.
Something that I found though is that a lot of businesses invent their own language and own acronyms.
Oh yeah. And
so what makes sense inside of that business, you go and use it somewhere else, and everyone's like, "What? What did you just say?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, it's the blah blah blah," and they're like, "That's not a thing."
Yeah, it's almost like as flexible as the roles of the C-suite. It's like it differs everywhere, like what all is entailed in that.
Yeah.
So that's the plan then. I just realized I haven't said my plans. So my plan's to finish this page. I'd like to have half done, but I feel like we'll have the holidays, so I'd like to be done with it.
Yeah. So are we assuming that this is probably the last time we're going to do this until next year?
I don't know. We may, because Christmas is on a Tuesday, I think. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? I think we might be able to do Artcasters on Thursday. I mean, Christmas will be over and it won't be New Year's. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything much else going on. So I was thinking that might be the kind of year-end wrap-up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
So far, so good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I got to look at the calendar because I'm terrible with dates, but it sounds right.
Yeah, I think so. I think this will be the holiday sort of Christmas episode, more or less, and then next week will be. I don't think we need to take a week off, because just the way Christmas falls this time. So
I like it.
I think we can do a year and wrap up next week on Thursday.
So
and the reason why we're doing it tonight is because, like Corey said, I'm going to be watching Star Wars tomorrow night, so won't be able to do Artcasters. So
I'm envious. I can't yet, and I have no tickets, but I really will murder anyone who gives spoilers.
Yeah, I don't even want to watch your reviews. I saw people posting some non-spoiler reviews, but I don't want to know anything. So
that might be how I missed the news about The Mandalorian, because I'm like, anything Star Wars I'm ignoring at this point.
I just think it's a really interesting choice to give into the fan theory and have Jar Jar come in as Emperor Palpatine.
I liked the Bill Burr joke of like, I think it would be funny if they actually made that a reality, where like Mando takes off his helmet and it's just like, me subbing. Like,
there's a lot of
like, no.
I mean, just the the mention of Life Day, that was in one of the episodes, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And I won't give too much away, but this new episode, they show a couple things. One thing in particular that's I don't want to spoil too much, but based on a toy that's never really, to my knowledge, been in any of the actual movies or anything like that. So it's kind of cool to see this thing, and there's just some cool stuff. So again, you see it. I mean, I'm
excited.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk holidays. So to me, I think we were talking before, we're going to kind of do this as like a free for all, just kind of rant episode and stuff and talk holidays. But
rant to me implies that it's kind of like got a negative spin, or like you're trashing something. So what do you hate about the holidays, Josh? What's your holiday rant?
Oh, don't get me started.
I mean, I'm on the episode, so the chances of it turning into a rant are high.
I think between Corey and I, we're rambling and ranting all over the place. But I feel like just as a kickoff, like to me, one of the things that is challenging about the holidays, and I think we all mentioned it in challenges, is the holidays. It's hard to figure out how to navigate. It's a great time of year. It's good to like spend time with family and friends and kind of recenter, I think, sometimes. But it also can be really overloading to try to kind of juggle all of that with, shopping for presents and all of that kind of stuff with trying to do these crazy projects we're all trying to do. And so just as a kickoff, this doesn't have to be where we end up, but, like how do you guys kind of navigate that, like the holidays with your productivity and with your own personal projects and stuff? And then maybe just in general, like, do the holidays kind of bring something weird out in you creatively, or I don't know.
One thing I find important is to manage my expectations of the holidays. And if I expect to be hyper productive and get a ton of stuff done, I typically am kind of a bad dad, husband, brother, son, and so I think a lot of it is just being is just knowing, you're going on vacation, you're going to be around family and friends, and it's kind of unreasonable to think that you're going to be able to produce things at the same rate that, you normally do. And so typically I just don't expect as much out of myself, and that makes it easier because then kind of whatever I get done is a bonus. Now that is saying that if I'm in a situation where I don't have deadlines or client work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's deadlines and client work, then you get it done no matter what.
Yeah, I find that this time of year is one of those times where it doesn't seem like you get a lot of. Everyone else is kind of, they're all checked out, So
Yeah.
It's like, for me, that gives me an opportunity to work, more of my personal stuff and not really worry about people like, oh, I need this or I need that. So for me, it's kind of like a free for all where I can kind of work on whatever I want. But with that in mind, I kind of have to, be a little more, diligent or whatever, or just like make sure I don't, because I did kind of, I kind of set aside some of my, personal projects and some of that to just kind of do some work around the house and stuff like that. And I got a little complacent doing that, even though that was stuff that needs to be done. And now that I've got a few of those projects out of the way, it's kind of cool because now I feel like, oh man, these are things that I kept putting aside and I got done. Now I won't feel as guilty when I get back to doing my own personal art projects.
Yeah.
But there's always so much stuff to do. But it's for me, it's almost like, I find that with like when the Super Bowl comes around, because I'm not a sports fan, but
Yeah.
Super Bowl is kind of like my free day to do anything where no one ever calls me, or I don't have to worry about the outside world because everyone's watching this game, so I can pretty much do whatever I want. I don't have to worry. So holidays are sort of like that on a sort of a lesser extent, but more spread out. So
yeah, I like that. I mean, like for me, it's really similar to what Corey was saying. I really try to moderate my expectations because it can go one way or the other. Like I'll alternate between getting in this mode of like, it's the holidays, like I don't need to do anything. Like I'm just gonna like laze around the house and like or like hang with the family and like have some hot chocolate and just chill, you know? And it's hard for me to, it's interesting because it's like, I know if I go full bore in that direction, like I'll end up in that slump where it's like to pull out of that. Like if you have momentum on projects, like personal projects, and you go like 3 weeks or 2 weeks without touching them, like that very quickly becomes like a month, 2 months, a year. And so it's like, so for me, it's like knowing that I'm like, I know I have to hit those projects. But the other extreme is like just kind of pushing everything else aside and being like, the personal projects have to happen when it's like, well, like tomorrow, like my son has a Christmas play. I'm not going to just like stay at home and like, you know, work on comics or go to work and work on, you know, my day job as an art director. I'm going to go to my son's play, you know, and be there and be present. And it's like that fine balance between you really need to be able to be present and like Corey was saying, like manage your expectations, where it's like, I'm probably not going to get as much done, you know, during the holidays as I might like when it's not a holiday. But at the same time, I don't want to go too far on that and like excuse myself to just totally take a break.
Yeah.
Because that's where I feel like, and this is just me, but I feel like there's like a danger area for my own personality where I'm like, if I take too much of a break, like that becomes a big break. You know, I don't know. Do you guys relate to that at all? Or
Yeah, but one thing, like, because I've been, you know, like just today, I just had a bunch of other stuff to do, and I honestly I didn't feel too guilty about it because you know, everyone else is just like I said, sort of checked out. So, I mean, I got some work done, maybe not as much as I would normally, but you know, I got some work done, and then I got you know, did some other stuff and didn't really worry too much about it. It's a little, you know, some more lax and stuff. And then of course, you know, when the new year runs around, which I guess we'll talk about next week, but then that's when you kind of really, you know, get back into thing and like, oh, it's a new year. We're going to dive back in and have all these goals and things like that. So right now it's just kind of taking it easy. But the only thing is that, you know, there's a lot of stuff, like, especially if you're making like content for like YouTube or whatever, that right now is a good opportunity to make some of that content, because there's always like year end, like favorite this, favorite that, the last year's favorite thing, or, you know, or for me, like making a video for what my goals are going to be for next year and that type of thing. And not only is it, you know, the end of a year, it's the end of a decade. So there's, you know, there's quite a bit there that, you know, if we're putting out YouTube content that we can kind of sort of capitalize on and you know, make video content about too, which I haven't done any of that yet. So I'm a little behind on that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the hard balance, right? Because like there is a part of me that is like, I don't really see an issue with also allowing yourself to have breaks and allowing yourself to have like, you know, relaxation days. Because I do think there's always this, it's like I've talked about this before, but it's like I feel like we're always kind of riding this line of like, you want to be performing at your best, but when you're performing at your best, like your absolute best, you're pushing yourself a little further than, you know, you even think you might be able to do. You're always kind of riding this line between burnout and success, you know? And it's like a really easy like thing to just fall into burnout. So it is nice to have, I mean, you do need to have times to kind of reset, you know? But and this is like, once again, this is more just me. I know that I also have a personality that will be like, oh, we're resetting. I'm just going to reset for a year, you know, like it's a weird thing, but it's like for me, and this is just my own thing, but it's like that's the weird part I have to kind of navigate around these times, you know. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm usually traveling in the holidays, and so it's it's a bit of a challenge because I am usually on the road, and that offers all of its own difficulties. And so, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, all my family lives here, so that's not really an issue for me. But now that I'm single again, it's like I don't even really know what I'm going to be doing on Christmas. I got invited to Christmas dinner with my mom, and I don't know if I have my kids. So I was just trying to figure out kind of what to do. I was even thinking of maybe like painting my house, which seems like it'd be weird to start that on Christmas. Like there's people walking around like, why is this guy painting his house on Christmas? So I don't know. I'm just like trying to figure out what to do with that. I might just go to a movie or see what my dad's doing or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Sam is wondering, what is relaxation? It's a good question. That's the thing you do so that you can be hyper productive. Because if you don't, then you just burn out. I don't know. It is kind of funny though, because like we've noticed in my relationship, my wife, whenever we know we're having a break coming up, she starts to ask a lot more about my art plans. Because we have noticed amongst ourselves that if I don't have art plans, if I go too long without making something or doing something, it's not good for the family because I just get kind of unpleasant and antsy, and I kind of just start wandering around the house, wondering out loud, like, so is no one going to do anything? Is no one,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's not great.
That's awesome that she kind of recognizes that and wants to encourage you to do that so that you're not like
yeah and like that's taken years. We've been married for 12 years, but to get to that point it's been good because now she's like, she notices even if I'm not being a jerk. she's like, hey, I noticed you haven't been down to your studio. Are you doing okay? Like, do you need some time? Like, this type of thing. And so it's been really helpful, that we kind of watch out for each other in that aspect.
No, and that's huge because I do remember this period, and I think we've talked about this before, but it was like, from when Benji was like first born to when he was 2, where I just kind of dropped all personal projects and I just did the day job, which was creative, but it's not the same as like personal stuff.
Yeah.
And I felt like my soul died a little bit. And it's weird because it's like at the same time I have incredible memories from that time, of my kid and stuff like that. But like, I do think for creatives that feel like there's something they're supposed to be working on, like you have that bug that's like, you have to do this, turning that down and not doing it is like, I think it's bad for your soul in a weird way. It's like, it's just, yeah. So like, that's another reason that like, when I bring up like the idea of like not wanting to take too long of a break because I know how that leads, it's like, I find myself usually pretty miserable if I'm not moving the ball forward on my own stuff. Right. And so that's the thing, is like that in itself is like a mental health decision. It's like, it's really good, I think, for artists and creatives to like be making something that's self-authored, it's their own vision, and be moving that forward. And I think if you don't move it forward, I think, at least for me, I'll find myself like really frustrated with things I shouldn't be because they're not my vision, but it's usually comes down to like, oh, I just need to be working on the thing that's like, self actualized vision, like my own thing,
Yeah. So how do you do that on the road?
You can't. So then you're gonna, like, that's the thing. I get the same way on trips. It's hard. It's weird, right? Because it's like we're always balancing, right? It's somewhere between giving up altogether and then becoming that creepy workaholic,
Yeah.
And both extremes end up with like a miserable jerk who's hard to be with. And so it's hard to navigate that like fine line. And on a trip, it's tough because like no matter how much you want to work on your own stuff, it's just not going to happen. I have the same problem in movies. I mean, I'm sure you guys do too, but sometimes when I go to the movies, I have trouble relaxing and enjoying the movie because I'm thinking about the thing I want to make.
I am too cheap to do that. I'm like, I paid money to be here. I'm going to enjoy it no matter what.
At this point, it's funny. That was a problem I had a lot. At this point, I go to the movies so little. And I think it's partially because, I got a young kid.
Yeah.
And so just the act of getting to the movies is a very complicated endeavor.
Right.
So now, yeah, it's a lot easier to escape when I get to the movie theater because it's like, I never go to the movies. And so if I do, I'm like, this is really interesting,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think you can get stuff done on trips. You're saying, that you just don't, but it is definitely harder. But like I found kind of tricks. Like I don't know how you do this, Josh, because you work at such a gigantic size that it would be really hard. But I mean, portable stuff like iPads are great. But and you've seen me do this when I was in LA and we shot that episode in the hotel lobby.
Yeah.
I take two pieces of what do you call that? Press board. Mm-hmm. And I use clips and I clip them together on the pages, and they travel really well that way. And so I'm able to kind of get, pages that I'm inking on the road. And I mean, the TSA can even beat the crap out of them and it doesn't matter that much. And
yeah, like I think that I could see and I've done. I was more meaning like literally when you're driving, it's not like you can get much drawing done,
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
But but you do have a really unique way of traveling with your stuff. And I do think you've kind of, you should do like a video about that.
Yeah.
Like mastering the art of doing art on the road.
I'll show everybody here for a minute. I got it just right over there. You guys riff for a second.
All right. Yeah, I know I was wondering if when we get done with the sort of the business talk, because there's supposed to be a party. We should talk about some I don't know, like holiday traditions. If you guys got any crazy holiday traditions or holiday memories or anything like that. So I don't know if you want to get into that before we close everything out.
I like it. Let's talk about weird holiday traditions. Do that. All right. You want to start?
Well, I don't know. We want to wait for Corey to kind of come back and answer here. I think he's going to pop back in here.
All right. So while he's gone, let's make the topic all the things we'd fix about Corey if we could. No, I'm just kidding.
Well played. So here's how I've got. This isn't terribly complicated, but I'll just show everybody. This is how I travel with stuff, and so I have these boards, and I got most of these from, if you ever buy an original page, they usually ship with stuff like this.
Oh, okay. Is it like MDF? What is that?
Yeah. It's just MDF, really thin MDF, and I don't even know if it's true MDF because it's only smooth on one side.
That sounds like MDF.
Yeah. And so I just take two pieces of MDF, and I sandwich the pages in between these two pieces, and then I take these type of clips, and I 4 of these clips just on the edges, and then you fold them down.
Yeah, that way it's not going to get messed up. I like that a lot.
And then you can stick this in a bag or briefcase or whatever, and I mean it locks it down solid.
And I think that's brilliant because, like, here's a dirty little secret from having worked at an art store. Like, I used to work at the art store on my college campus, and my wife worked at an art store for a while. A lot of those high-end portfolio cases, the big one that's like got the zip and all that, that backing board that's in those cases is just a giant piece of MDF.
Yeah, go to the hardware store. The art stores, you're going to pay like 10 times what you should.
Yeah. And actually, pro tip too, never buy like those art boxes that have like art written on them.
Tackle boxes? The tackle boxes that say art bin on them?
Yeah, the overpriced tackle boxes, the $80 tackle box that you could get at Home Depot for 10.
I've got one of those that I bought when I was in school. It's like ancient, but yeah, it's pretty much a tackle box, but it says art bin on it.
Yeah, just go to Walmart or Home Depot or Ace or something, and just get a toolbox. They're exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and if you get a tackle box, it's pretty cool because like you can actually get a full tackle box and they'll have sections for all your paints and everything. So yeah.
Is that a fishing thing? Tackle box?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's a football thing. They tackle. Like the people who really fail when they're tackled just get put in a box.
That makes sense. You could literally say anything and I will nod and agree. I don't know anything about fishing. I played football in high school, but
I don't know a ton about fishing at all. Okay, we were going to talk weird holiday traditions.
Okay.
So Scott was going to start off.
Wow. So yeah, I mentioned that, but I'm trying to think of traditions. If we have any, like, this kind of might fall more under the category of holiday memories.
Okay.
But I know, like, and this was a tradition at one point, but this was back when I was a kid and we kind of grew out of it. But I know me and my brother, and I don't know if you guys did this, but we always had that, like that's the Sears toy catalog. Or any catalog or whatever, and that's basically what like we would before Christmas. You know, the night before Christmas, we would like sleep. He'd usually come into my room when we like put sleeping bags down, and we would just look at the catalog and dream of all the stuff that we wanted to get. And we usually didn't get much of it, but we did that many times. And then, but I don't know about you guys. What I'm curious to know, like, even especially like as kids, what your favorite Christmas gift was or present that you received.
A moped.
Okay, cool. Was it
like when I was 12 years old? Well, this is kind of a weird part of the story, but my parents got me a hair dryer because I had pretty long hair in high school, and or in junior high and high school. And so they got me a hair dryer, and then that was it. That was it. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm old enough. I know about Santa. Maybe Christmas is just going to kind of not be exciting anymore. And so I was kind of enjoying like the rest of my siblings, you know, kind of opening things and whatever. And then my parents were like, hey, you got to keep looking around. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, there's more. So I picked up the hairdryer and there was a set of keys there. It's like, did you guys give me a car? I'm 12. They're like, no. Go outside. And I went outside and there's a moped. And I don't know if most people know what an actual moped is, but it's not a motorcycle and it's not a bicycle. And it's not like the cool, like electric bikes that they have nowadays. It's like a 75-pound motorcycle with pedals. And so like it's really heavy, and like pedaling it without the engine on is like not worth it. But it's got like a 49cc engine, because a 50cc engine or above in California is considered a motorcycle. And so 49 cc's, you can like ride it in the bike lane and whatever, and you don't have to have a license. And so anyway, so it was this moped, and there is this on a downhill straightaway with the wind at my back. I could get going to 22 miles an hour on this thing. And I went and grabbed one of my buddies, and we got a tow rope, and he got on his rollerblades, and I just like pedaled and was revving the engine. And anyway, Yeah, that was probably one of the best ones. I ran myself over with that moped. I tried to do a wheelie, and so I pulled really hard on the handlebars, and I revved the engine while I did that, and I popped the front tire up in the air, and I rode it for a little bit, and then I was trying to balance, so I wasn't really looking where I was going, and I hit a rock. There was just like this big like cobblestone in the middle of the road, and that put the bike down really hard, and I bounced over it, and then it ran over me and stopped, and then fell on top of me.
Oh man!
Yeah. So
I had a I don't know what you would call it, but it was like a little mini like motorcycle. I don't think I got it for Christmas. My dad got it used or something, but it was like a motorcycle, but it was small. It was like very small, but it was like kind of I remember it being sort of bulky and small.
Was it like a dirt bike?
Kind of like a dirt bike, but it was I remember being sort of wider so it wouldn't like tip over as much. Like it wasn't that hard. Like I probably would have wrecked a regular like dirt bike or something like this. This was very small, and it was kind of wide and but down to the ground and everything.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if this was a Christmas gift, but my dad made me a go-kart one year when I was super small. This is back when I lived in California, which it was I don't know. This was before I wouldn't probably even before I started school, I'm guessing. But I remember he made it himself. He made it like the wheels were like the wheels from like a lawnmower.
Oh,
And the seat was like an old like baby car seat. It was probably like my old baby car seat without the thing that kind of came down. And back then in the 70s, I don't even think you had to have a car seat, but I just made it. I don't know how he built it, but he built that, and I was kind of going around the neighborhood. I thought that was the coolest thing. Yeah. What about you, Josh?
Couple things come to mind. Like, so you brought up the Sears catalog, and like when I was about 15, or probably about 14, actually, I remember my friend Jake and I'm probably like the very last generation to use the Sears catalog. But we were looking at the Sears catalog because we're going to be in a rock band. And I was like dead set on getting the crappy drum set they had in there. And he was dead set on the guitar. And then last minute, it was like the night before, I don't know. I feel like for some reason felt like a pending deadline or something. But my friend called me and was like, I kind of want to do the drums. And I was like, yeah, I kind of want to do the guitar. And we just traded which we were going to ask for. And then I ended up getting this like weird piece of plywood for Christmas. But I was stoked about that plywood with strings. It was like a brand called Synsonics. And it was literally made out of plywood. It was like the worst guitar you could possibly start with. But I remember it was very much presented in a similar way where I think I got like socks and all the presents you would like not be jazzed about at like 15.
Did your parents individually wrap your socks?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it's just like you're kind of like, I'm so happy, thank you, and then you're kind of secretly like, this kind of sucks getting.
Yeah.
That was similar to what you were describing, where it's like, I guess that's what happens when you're, because you feel like you're like 30 when you're 15.
I'm old now.
Yeah.
There's always that one present that usually wasn't wrapped. That you're like, oh wait, maybe there's something else. Go look around.
Yeah. And this one was in the garage because like a guitar is pretty big. It's hard to hide. So they were like, well, maybe there's something in the garage. So I like go in there and they got me a guitar. And
yeah, I feel bad for my parents because they bought me a guitar one year and an amp because I asked for it because of course I wanted to be a rock star like everyone. Of course I didn't care enough to actually learn the guitar, and I'm not musically inclined at all. So it's kind of like always the most I got was just like pretending, and everything. And then as far as like being in a band, the furthest I got was just designing album covers for a band that never existed. And I had me and my friends, we created this band called Roach. And I drew, and this is back when like it was back when like Iron Maiden was big and stuff like that. So
Nice.
I created my own, character and he kind of it was like this crazy looking cockroach character that followed through all the different albums. And I had all the songs, like I had like track listings and the names of the songs and all that stuff. Songs that never existed. I don't even think half of them had lyrics or anything like that. But yeah, so that's my extent of my musical abilities.
So that's not all that different, because that Christmas, like, my friend got his drum set, right? And so like I think overnight, like we set up a tape recorder on the those like rectangular tape recorders that like every kid's parents at the time had, that like it had the play button, but then there was like the little red button inside the play button that you'd hold both and put them down, and then it would record it. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So we just hit that and just like recorded a demo, because I learned like that if I held like one string, it would kind of sound cool. And like, so we just kind of literally just holding one string on the neck, just kind of did all these like tough songs, and then kind of like made a whole album cover for it and stuff. And but I remember like that guitar, like that stupid crappy guitar was like, that's what I learned guitar on. And like, I remember the first time somebody showed me a power chord and all of that, and that all stemmed from like this one time where they got me that, and it was a cool gift, at the time.
I would have been a skateboarder. At 5 years old, I got a Nash skateboard.
Oh, and thinking about the era that you got, that was kind of back when that was the skateboard to get.
That was it, man. It was like plastic trucks and everything. And my brother left it behind our neighbor's car, and he ran it over. I was actually, for 5 or 6, I was getting pretty good. I could like kick, I could stand, I could kind of drop in on our driveway, and that was the end of it. After that, I would have made it big time, I'm sure.
You would have been pro.
Yeah.
The X Games.
Right. Whole different life.
It's funny now that I think about all these different hobbies and stuff or things that I was into as a kid or wanted to be into, whether it was the guitar and the band, when actually it was just me drawing record covers and stuff. The other thing was that when we moved back to Arizona, the house my parents got had this like intercom system throughout the house. And there was, you press the button down and you could talk and you could hear it in the different rooms and stuff. So what I would do is you had to press the button and kind of hold it down, but I would jam something in it so it would stay down. And we would like create radio stations, and we just play like you were talking about with that little tape deck.
Yeah.
You put the music in the tape and you play it. So I would introduce a song and I'd play this thing throughout the house and stuff like that. Then just create these radio stations. But then I also, I would also design like the bumper stickers, and like I think I even have one of them still in my closet. It was called Crown FM, KRWN. It was just like, and I had the little logo, and I created the bumper stickers, and I cut them out and everything, and I would give them away and stuff like that. It was just like, but it's funny, even from that early on, that I was that interested in just the branding and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a really similar thing, because like, and I talk about it a little bit in quarterly stories, but it's like, I definitely remember like recording fake radio shows on a tape deck.
Yeah.
And even doing like bits and like skits and stuff.
Oh yeah. I was super big into like Dr. Demento and Weird Al and all that stuff, and I would do like song parodies, but it was just me singing over the actual song, because I didn't have like it's not like back then they had like the karaoke version where you could
No, like what kids are able to do now. I envy.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. If YouTube was around when I was a kid, forget it, man. I'd be one of these million subscriber channels.
Yeah.
Or you'd be really shamed at your school when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So there's like a part of me that thinks that where I'm like, if YouTube had been around or if recording had been around, but I'm like, but then if it were like public and it didn't blow up, and then like all those mean kids at school got to like watch you on loop.
You'd be the next Rebecca Black.
That's the Friday girl, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to do weird stuff. Like you guys are describing like really creative things, but like we would dress up in we'd dress up in like suits and ties and put like dark glasses on and like take old phone cords, like shove them in our ear and whatever, and we would go guard people at Walmart.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
we'd like follow people around and they'd get really nervous, and we'd do like really obvious things. Like whenever they would look at us, we would just grab like a magazine upside down and like pretend like we were reading it. just follow, or yeah. And it was I was way older than I should have been to be doing stuff like that. Like I remember I had a girlfriend at one point in time, and she was, I don't know why she put up with this, and we would just go around and guard her, and we would like move people out of the way so that she could walk through. You know, we'd be like, "Oh, excuse me," you know, and like actually physically move adults so that she could walk by. Like if I saw a kid like that today, I'd just be like, you stupid punk. But we used to do really odd things like that. Like I used to, I guess I can say this now that I'm an adult and my parents don't have hold over me anymore, but I used to take the minivan out and try to jump it off the railroad tracks. And I successfully got all four tires off the ground of a 1996 Dodge Caravan with 7 people in the car.
Whoa.
And I still feel bad about this today because it was like a downhill. So you're going downhill, and then there's railroad tracks that cross that path at a perpendicular angle. And then so it goes downhill, it goes up for the railroad tracks, and then drops back downhill after the railroad tracks. And so it compresses the shocks just enough that you get a little lift, and then the ground drops out from under you. And I was probably like a foot off the ground, but it felt like I was about 20 feet off the ground because I had seen so many movies that in my mind, I was like, I could feel the tires not have any friction on the wheel anymore. And I could feel the wheels spinning, but not moving at the speed that they're spinning at. And everything went into slow motion. And in the air, I did the worst possible thing that you could imagine. I freaked out and I slammed my foot on the brakes so that we landed with the brakes already locked up. And this is before anti-lock brakes and stuff like that. And so they locked up. And in the air, I see the light turn red. And I landed in the middle of the intersection and bounced several times, scraping the carriage of the van on the street. Started sliding sideways, like we turned 90 degrees. I don't know how we didn't roll, and came to a stop, like perpendicular to the direction that I had left, in the middle of the intersection. And I immediately looked back at my brother and I said, "If you tell Mom, I will end you." and then we drove off and we were fine. So yeah, you guys are like, I made radio stations, I did cool creative things, and I'm like, I almost died all the time because I'm an idiot.
I did that kind of stuff too. Not that I never took a car out, but I did some crazy stuff like that. You've
never tried to jump a vehicle?
Well, I did jump my dad's snowmobile over this huge crevasse that I didn't even know it happened. But like afterwards, my dad was like, "You do not tell your mom what just happened. You could have totally died." He was like freaking out. Like I didn't even know I jumped the thing, but afterwards it was like you look back and see what you just did? I was like, oh.
That's awesome.
I love
Wow.
it. Chris was saying you can think about story ideas on the road. That's true.
Well, he also said watch Star Wars, Scott, and I didn't know if he was talking about the new movie. I'm watching. I'm going to see it tomorrow. If that's what you mean, Chris. But no spoilers if you've already seen it. I know you're out in LA, maybe you got one of them special advance previews or something. But I'm definitely going to see it. If that's what you mean.
We're talking about like coolest gifts, and it sounds like we're talking about ones as kids. What about as adults? What's the coolest?
Well, I don't think I ever mentioned like my favorite like gift. And this ties into Star Wars, but it was, I think that
say your son, we're ending the Artcasters today. If that's the kind of answer,
what's that?
Just throwing that out there. But if it's like, yeah, the best Christmas gift I got was my child.
Actually, my first son was born near Christmas.
Oh, there you go.
He was born on the 12th of this month, so he was sort of a Christmas baby. So
Please don't say your son. Okay.
That's always the lamest answer.
Yeah. No. It was I honestly, the one I remember the most was the Star Wars Death Star. And I was rewatching a video. Like my mom took some old home videos and she put them on DVD for me to watch and gave it to me as a Christmas present a year or two ago. And I don't remember if it was me unboxing it, but I was definitely there. Like it had already been unboxed or something. It was sitting there. But I just remember that because that thing was like massive. And I don't know how much, I mean, that was back then that was like a big deal. I mean, but it was like, it's like this 3-story toy and just putting it all together, and had little trash compactor with this little foam stuff and the little Dianoga trash monster and all that stuff. And I play with that thing over. I mean, that was just like, to me, that was like the coolest thing in the world. Because
I can't believe you had the Death, like nobody had the Death Star.
Yeah, I never had the Millennium Falcon. I never had an AT-AT or anything like that, but I did have the Death Star. And it was like, so that was like the big one for me as far as my Star Wars toys.
That's impressive. We were really poor. So like we got pound puppies and because they were like the biggest thing at the time.
I remember pound puppies. And
it was me and all of my cousins and my siblings all got pound puppies because we were all pretty broke. And then I like looked and I was like, man, these look so good, right? And then I looked and they didn't have the little embroidered paw on the haunch. And I was like, wait a minute. So I was looking at the ones on the TV and I was looking at the ones in the store. And I was like, my mom and all my aunts just made these pound puppies for us. That's
the cool thing. Because even like with the Star Wars Death Star, like if that was a thing today and my kids, and you could go buy the Star Wars Death Star in this thing, like for me, like if I could make as cool as that toy was, I could make a better Star Wars Death Star for my kids if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But they probably wouldn't care about it because it wasn't the actual official thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like all that. I mean, if you're artistic and you can build that kind of stuff, you can make some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like sometimes you wonder if it goes unappreciated.
I was impressed with the craftsmanship. Another year, the year after that, Josh, you said that you got a plywood guitar. I literally got a plywood guitar. My dad would freak.
Technically, it was literally plywood because the manufacturer Sensonics, that was their tone wood. They manufactured them out of plywood, but it wasn't like nailed together out. So you got
no. So what I got was it's a step above an air guitar because it actually physically existed. but what my dad would change the route of how he drove to and from work so that every day, twice a day, he would drive by the garbage bin of this cabinet shop. and like the back of his truck constantly had was just full of like scrap wood.
Huh.
And one time they threw away like all of this like thin plywood. It was like 1/4-inch plywood, but
Yeah.
it had a veneer on it. And so he grabbed all that, and they cut guitar shapes out of all this stuff, and then they just put like a 1/4 round on the back for the neck. And so we had like flying V's and Fender Strats and Tellys, and everybody got a different shape. And then all the moms like painted them. So all the dads are out there with like a skill saw, like cutting out all these shapes. So they had this whole like assembly line of and that was pretty cool, you know.
Sure.
And kind of, but like, you know,
that's what my parents should have done instead of got me the real guitar, because that would be I would have had just as much fun with the cardboard cutout guitar, because I never actually played it. I just pretended I played it.
Yeah, it's one of those things like my son, you know, every once in a while will be like, I want to play guitar, and I'll let him like noodle around on one of mine. But like, I know how kids are with instruments. Like, the time you're gonna want to play is like where you're just like, screw it, I'm gonna mow lawns, I'm gonna like, you know, and you want to like learn it. It's a hard thing, like piano lessons, all that stuff. It's like, do you really want to force that on your kid? Because like, kids don't like they like things, but they don't like for instance, my son's age right now, he likes to make like little traps and like obstacle courses out of cardboard that we like tape all over the floor and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like this fantasy world, you know, that he likes to make. And it's like, he's just as happy, like, you know, doing that with a cardboard box, you know?
Yeah. We had a lot of fun with cardboard boxes. I made a Colonial Viper from Battlestar Galactica out of a cardboard box. And we would take it. We had the stairs we grew up on was just basically, it was a staircase that just went straight down. So we get in this box, me and my brother, that looked like it probably didn't look too much like it, but we thought it did look like a Viper from Battlestar Galactica. And we just go down this cardboard box in the stairs.
I have totally done that on a staircase. It's pretty awesome.
We did it.
And I broke my
carpeted stairs.
What's that? Yeah, it had carpet on it. It had carpet on it. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have went down.
Yeah, carpeted stairs are the ultimate stairs to do that on.
Yeah. So
we used a cookie sheet.
The what?
We used a cookie sheet.
Okay, that had to be. Is that big enough?
That must have been loud.
It was loud, and it went very fast. So there's like zero friction, and we found out after a couple of runs that there's just no way not to slam into the wall at the end.
So as a kid growing up with a staircase, did you ever get your head stuck in the staircase?
We didn't have it was basically just.
Oh, you didn't have the metal banister?
No, it was just basically there was almost like a hallway, you know, an opening.
Oh, okay.
It didn't have any kind of like open area or anything. But as far as getting injured on the stairs, I broke my brother's arm one time because we were playing Donkey Kong. And basically what we got these duffel bags, and he was Mario, and he would try to come up the stairs, and I would just throw these duffel bags down at him, and he broke his arm, and we didn't realize it was broken, but I kind of like, he said it hurt, so I bandaged it up, and then my dad came home, and he was upset because we had made a mess or done something, and my brother was on the couch with this makeshift kind of sling that I made for him. And my dad saw that. And he goes, "What is this? Expletive." And he goes and pulls the thing off of my brother's arm, not realizing it was actually broken. It probably made it like way worse. And then we went to the doctor and found out, and he ended up coming home with a cast on everything.
Oh, no.
And the other time, my brother got so injured from all this stuff. But there's so much. I can't believe how many of these memories go back to Star Wars. But my dad was in the swimming pool business, and he had this pool pump or something like that. But it was like this metal pump, and it was just the shell of a pump, the thing that casing that went over it, and it would look like it was kind of dome shaped like R2-D2. So I put this thing over my brother's head, and when I took and the thing is, there was a thing at the top where It kind of had a screw thing where you put in. It was like a valve or like a little meter or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't on there, but it had like this on the top. It had like this little metal screw thing. So I put it on his head. And he's like, "Ow!" And I pulled it off, and like his head was all bleeding and everything.
Oh no!
Is that thing went right on top of his head with the screw part? So yeah, my brother always kind of got the brunt of all the injuries.
Yeah, it sounds like he took a beating.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Speaking of Star Wars, so this was just like a cool experience as a nerdy kid. So my dad, for a very brief period of time, like it's like he was a graphic designer. The whole industry like shifted. He went to like manage for like a print company that handled like paper and stuff, and he was more in sales and like art direction. And by the time we moved back to California, like the whole industry had shifted to computers. And my dad was like a paste up guy. And my dad was like a highly educated guy. He had like 3 degrees and just did not feel up to going back to school and getting in a bunch of debt. So he took like some just like low level managerial positions. And one of them was at a hobby shop. And, so at the hobby shop, like there's just this crew of people locally that would like come by, and they're like model builders, and they just buy like 10 kits. And a couple of the guys were like ILM guys, like who had worked like, like with George Lucas, like on Star Wars. And they were just like model guys, you know, and they just like were retired, but like still building models. And my dad would just talk to them every once in a while. So we get these like weird, like throwaway model kits coming home every once in a while. But this one time, my dad comes home with the blaster of Han Solo from Star Wars, from like Empire.
No.
It's the literal thing. It's the actual prop. It's not a replica. It's like the guy who was the model builder who built that. He just built it using like an old Ruger and like some sprinkler parts and like all these different things that he like welded together. And we got like for like a week, we had Han Solo's blaster, and we took so many photos. I'll have to ask my sisters for them. I'm sure they have them, but we took so many photos like posing and playing with Han Solo's like legitimate, like the actual blaster from Star Wars. That was pretty legit and awesome.
That's amazing.
My dad, this is before they actually made any like actual lightsaber toys. I think the first toy they made, the toy they made was this inflatable lightsaber.
Okay,
like,
I had my own too, which was the wiffle ball bat version.
Right. Yeah, I remember those too.
Where you'd swing it and it would go whoo.
Yeah. I remember
it had like the cuts, and you could screw it off.
Yeah, I remember that. The first one was like inflated, like the blade was inflated. You just blow it up like a big balloon and attached to a thing, and of course it does. It's called. But my dad, he made these homemade lightsabers and sold them like neighborhood kids and stuff. But he would just get like a cheap flashlight, and then I don't know if you've seen those. I guess you put golf balls in them or something. They're these big, long, like plastic tubes. I think they have something to do with golf or storing golf balls or something. And he would attach those, and of course, I think he put like a color, like a cellophane or something to make them different colors. But he made these lightsabers, and like they were like the hit around the neighborhood. Everyone wanted one and everything. I remember that.
Oh man, so the time, like, because I think we have a gap a little bit, but like the time I was born, Star Wars toys were like the thing. But you go to Toys R Us, and like the shelves would be cleared, and the only things left would be Lando and a sand person. Like nobody, which to me makes me think like people were just dumb. Like those are great figures. But at the time, as a kid, you want like Luke, you know, you want Darth Vader, you want Luke, like you want Han, you want Leia. You don't want like, you know, a sand person. Like,
oh, that was like my favorite. Like I was a sand person, like my parents, I've talked about this probably ad nauseum, but my parents made a costume for me as a sand person riding.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like my favorite. But
Well, in retrospect, I think I was foolish because the Sand People are badass, and I was stoked, like another Mandalorian thing. But I was so happy to see Sand People.
oh yeah. Because maybe that by the time Empire came out and Lando was introduced, the Sand People probably already had that one.
Yeah, but the catch was you just couldn't get Star Wars toys. They were gone. They were like.
See, I don't remember that at all. I just remember these massive aisles of just Star Wars going on and on.
I remember empty aisles
forever, and they went on forever.
I remember empty aisles, and I remember anybody kind of getting decent Star Wars toys was kind of lucky. And what's weird is it's about the same era where like they had those Snow Patrol versions of the GI Joes, and those were like impossible to get a hold of because they just kept clearing off the shelf, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I'm a little older than you guys, so I remember. I don't remember. I don't think I ever got like the mail away thing where they send you the thing and then you got the pictures of the characters.
Yeah,
I don't think my parents fell for that. I think they were probably like, "This is just a box." but eventually, when they did become available, there was this one day. I think I had a couple. I think I had like a Chewbacca and maybe a Luke or something. But there was this one day. My mom came home with like almost every other character that I didn't have. They must have either just got them in or they were on sale for super cheap, and she like bought them all. And like she came home with all. I think she gave it like I think she would just give me one like a day. Each day she would give me another one. But she, you know, and it was like the Jawa, which I thought was cool because he had the actual coat and everything. And this is after the original Jawa that's super rare is the one with the plastic cape. But,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and they were back then. That was crazy. I think they were like $2 for a Star Wars action figure.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Yeah. Most of my childhood memories revolve around Star Wars and one.
So all right, so we've talked about childhood and stuff. What do you think? What do you feel is like, even maybe as like older? What's like a present that's really hit home, like more currently, or maybe even just like midway? You know, like
it's a hard one. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Like I can kick it off.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So like I mentioned the guitar thing, and there's a lot of like childhood things that were awesome, you know, that are like that unexpected thing. I do take pride in the fact that like my family was a bunch of nerds and hippies, and so like some of my early Halloween costumes and stuff were like Elrond like a bunch of like Lord of the Rings stuff that like nobody would get other than my family because it's pre, you know, those being movies. But anyhow, so like fast forward to like being older, one of the last gifts I got from my dad was this table. It was right before I went off to art school in college. And this is a drafting table that my dad had as an architect. So you guys might notice it's gigantic. It's like an architect's table. And it's because it is. My dad was an architect for like a brief period. And he passed this down to me. And that was one of the best gifts I've ever gotten in my life. It felt like kind of like a passing of the torch kind of thing. And that was like early 20s and an equal kind of semi-disappointing feeling Christmas. I think it was like maybe 21. And then it kind of ended with this, which I still use to this day and was like one of the more like meaningful and art related, you know, things I've ever gotten.
Yeah, I remember seeing that desk when I was out there, and my first art job was in an architectural firm. I wasn't an architect, but because it was an architectural firm, all the art desks were also architect desks. So I mean, that was like my first desk, that massive desk with also I don't remember if yours does yours have the rolling, like the thing on the track,
Yep.
the straight edge and everything? Yeah. And we had the electric erasers and all that kind of stuff. But similarly, my one of my favorite gifts, and this is before you even mentioned that, what I went to immediately was my light table in the other room there. My uncle built that.
Oh, awesome.
Here. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's like a full. I mean, you can use it as an actual art desk, which I probably do just as much as I use it as a light table. But yeah, that was a really cool gift. So.
Yeah, I think those art gifts really stick. Because like even thinking about it, it's like the first art table I got like a decent art table for a kid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because my dad was like a graphic designer. So he's like, okay, he's into art. Let's not just get him like the Michaels crap. Like, let's like, so he like drove to downtown LA to like a legit art store and like bought like a kid's art table from there, you know, which was like way better than anything you'd get at like a craft store, you know?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my aunt made this. It was a really cool gift, but it was just this box, and she cut out like a little shape of a light bulb, and it said Scott's Idea Box, and I opened it up, and it just had paper and pencils and just all kinds of art supplies. That
awesome.
And what was cool was the paper in it was like the 11 by 17 like copy paper.
Yeah,
I'd never seen at that time. I'd never seen paper that big.
No, rare, man.
Yeah, so I thought that was like the coolest thing, and it was like so I would do my comics and stuff on that and everything.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't know on adult stuff. I'm not sure, but I remember as a younger teenager, they were getting rid of the dot matrix printers at the high school that my dad taught at. And so I got like reams
of
printer paper. That was pretty cool. And then when I was 16, my dad made me a chess table that I still have. It's like a handmade chess table from that cabinet shop where he would grab all the scrap wood. And he got enough dark hardwood and light hardwood to like make it. And that's pretty awesome. But as an adult, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of buy myself whatever I want.
Yeah.
So like Christmas as an adult is not as exciting because I'm just kind of like,
But that's kind of why I went with the homemade art desk, because that's something you can't buy. Things like that if somebody makes it for you, or like in Josh's case where it's passed down, that's like something that like you couldn't buy, money couldn't buy. So.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is you guys have all these really cool stories, and I'm trying to think of anything that I've gotten that's been that awesome, and I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, that was definitely young adult. I mean, that was, the age I'm at now. That's like literally like half a lifetime ago.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do. I mean, it does stick out. It's to me one of the things that like surprises me about the holidays is like how few of those stick out. Even though I've gotten some pretty awesome presents, even as a kid.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that like kind of remains are like weird things, like stories of like my sisters and I, and like kind of things you were just describing, like things like, like sliding down staircases and a lot of that kind of stuff. It's kind of one of the things I love about this time of year is it brings up a lot of that in memory. And being somebody who does like autobio stuff, I love that, like I like the idea of memory kind of creating stories, I don't know. It's interesting and it's kind of cool. Yeah. And I do feel like one thing that's interesting about like distance is like you wonder if like, like 30 years from now, like this will be one of those holidays where you're like, yeah, there was this thing. you know,
Mhm.
that we'll all be kind of nostalgically kind of talking about, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, guys? You think you got anything to add, or you think that's a good way to end it? We're at like hour 50.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That went quick. I thought we were short on it.
No.
Probably because it's a fun conversation.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
All right.
You guys feel good?
Yeah.
All right. So for everybody out there in the Artcasters and stuff, we probably won't see you until after Christmas and the holidays and stuff. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah. I hope you guys are having a good time with family and friends, and hopefully getting some time off work. And if you're freelance, make some time off work, because that's the advantage of freelance, right? But yeah, thanks for joining us, and share your own experiences. Like, what's the best gifts you guys got? And then also, like, I really want to know how people balance the holidays with creative output, because it's a challenge. And other than that, I'll just sound off first and say, you can find my work at quarterlystories.com, where you can read my comic about faith and mental illness that I've been carving away at while we've been chatting. And go to joshuakemble.com to see my art. And then you're on my YouTube, so you know where to find me. Corey, where can everybody see, like, once you're done with this looping game of chicken, remember to check it out.
So you can see my stuff at coreykerr.com. And if you want to see the stuff I've done recently, where I'm posting that, go to my YouTube. And actually, I should just share this link. I don't know. Have you guys heard of Linktree?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
I think we've got a guest or two that have used it, where it like links to a bunch of different things.
Yeah, Linktree is awesome. It's just super simple. My link through Linktree will take you to whatever I want at the time. And so right now it's pointing towards Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and my website. And so if you want to see any of those things, you can always just go to coreykerr.com and click on Find Me Online. But if you just want to go straight there, just go to Linktree/Corey like it is at the bottom of the screen, and that'll have all that stuff. And that link is in the description of everywhere. Also, I'm on IMDb.
Yeah, you are.
There's not any way that you can interact with that or anything, but it exists. So that's that too.
No, and that is an achievement for the year, for sure, dude.
I've wanted. I don't know why, but I've wanted to be on IMDb for like 20 years. I just thought it would be really cool. So now I am, which is fun.
Yeah, and how did you get there? I'm just curious. How exactly did you make that happen?
I submitted to 87 film festivals after I made an animated short. So and let's see, where am I at on that? I've got 9 rejections and 11 selections, 3 awards, semifinalists, and 3 finalists.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and that's all happened within this year, and actually within like a very small window of this year.
Yeah, I finished that short 2 weeks into this semester, so three months ago.
Yeah.
And then ever since I finished it, I've been applying for these. I just applied for another one today. I have to stop applying because it has to end at some point.
Save some of those applications for your next film, because like whether you do the rules or not, I still feel like it might not bode badly to submit future shorts, even if it's like a long shot, because why not?
Right. Yeah. And the only thing is, if I submit it, I can't show it publicly. There are some festivals that are cool with it.
Yeah.
And others that are like, you'd be disqualified. And I think the next short that I do, unless something significantly changes. But right now, the next short that I do, I want to be able to just release it as soon as I finish it.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I don't know, but I'm seeing like Jim Lujan and some others. Like Jim's got a show on television right now.
Yeah, it's possible, man.
So and he did that off of a lot of his short.
Talk to Jim. He's pretty good at pitching and hustling. So
yeah,
I love it though. That's exciting. I was just realizing now that I'm closer to the screen, I have war paint. That's one of the things I love about working traditionally. I actually enjoy the fact that when I'm done inking, I actually have to wash my face and my hands. So you end up with a little bit of ink everywhere. And there is something fulfilling about getting all dirty after you're done. So that is really huge news and cool. All right, Scott, to close this out, where can we find your work? I'm a cartoonist. I want to find some assets that I can use in my comics, and like sometimes it's helpful if I don't have to make it from scratch. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend you go to circworks.com, and if you just want to get started, there's a comic maker starter kit which contains a lot of cool free tools for making comics. And if you're super serious, then you can purchase the Comic Maker Toolkit, which is like the big kit with pretty much everything you need for making comics. So yeah, I've got both of those products on my website. The other thing I probably should mention is that just as far as this Artcast goes, if you obviously today we're kind of doing this on a Wednesday because Star Wars comes out tomorrow and we'll be busy, but typically we do it on a Thursday. But you never know what day we're going to be on, what time or whatever, whose channel, because it rotates between Josh's channel and my own channel. So if you want to know when we're going to be on, there is a link in the description of this video to join our mailing list for the Artcasters, and we don't spam you or anything like that. We just usually about 30 minutes ahead of time, we send out an email to let you know when we're going to be going on. Oh, nice. Now Corey's the odd man out. All right. Yeah. And he's got a Darth Maul hat. Action figure hat.
I love it. So we're all good. All right. Well, so thank you guys so much for joining us. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever you celebrate during the holidays. Thanks for joining us and listening to our memories, and please share them. And also I really want to give a thank you because it's probably the last we're going to do till we're doing our little like New Year recap, but we're getting close to the end of the year. And we got a community of people who've been really supporting and following us throughout the entire year. And it's really appreciated and it's fun. And it's great to just kind of like see everybody kind of chime in while we're doing this craziness that we do. So anyhow, thank you guys. It's been fun. And I sincerely hope you guys have a good holiday. And that'll do it. Yeah. So before I hit end, I just want you guys to know there's going to be a lag, so we'll probably just make a frozen face while it ends.
Happy holidays, everyone.